Welcome to Shorty SuperCoach and welcome to the weekend preview. It's been a bloody busy week. I did endeavour to do my press conference, so I'll come back, I swear. Am I a little bit, I guess, disenchanted by SuperCoach at the moment? Yes I am, but my pride's starting to kick in. I'm going poorly. Just to bring you up to speed, I think I scored something like 2070. I even had a 0 on my field, which was an absolute mistake. Shorty's got to click into gear. As I've mentioned on this channel before, I'm finding it hard to really get involved with SuperCoach this season, but I'm pushing through, and my pride has been pricked. I'm going pretty poorly. I went back down in the rankings. I'm ranked somewhere in the 40,000s. That's poor. For a bloke who's trying to run a YouTube channel on the content, that's poor. So I need to respond. I need to bounce back. I'm feeling like I've got a good week in me. Now, what am I going to do? I had a howler last week. Naismith, brought him in for Jacobs, does his knee. So I've got to get rid of him. Now, I think a lot of people have a fair bit of things on their mind, or a fair few things on their mind. Howe, Fyfe, Stewart potentially, and Naismith. So let's start in the back line, and I want to talk through a few possibilities and a few that I don't like to replace these guys. I think for Howe and Stewart, they're similarly priced. There's a bit of difference, but let's just talk about the same sort of players, because most of the time there'll be a crossover, particularly if you have a little bit of coin in the bank. I really like Caleb Daniel, if you can get up to him. Obviously, if you can bring in a Lloyd and that sort of thing, do it for sure. But in terms of guys who are around that price, Daniel, really like. Sicily, very good option, very reliable, intercepting king. And I think we probably know that. We know that those guys can deliver those sorts of numbers. A few others that I've seen brought to the table, Crisp, he's going okay. But I'm not as about Maynard, and I'm not about Jordan Ridley. I've just read a couple of things, seen a couple of polls. I know Ridley's going well, but he's not going to be a top 6 defender, nor a top 8 defender. I'd be shocked if he was a top 10 defender. So why bring him in? He's not that cheap anymore. I think he's about 410. So I'll be putting a line through him just because you scroll down and you see that he's a bit cheaper. I think he's just a bloke who's in good form, in my opinion. Now, Howe being out is obviously going to have an effect on Maynard and Crisp, who are flying at the moment. So maybe tread with caution there, but they are pretty solid options. I do like the Crisp option, but let's not shake it up too much. I mean, when I think top 6 to 8 defenders for SuperCoach 2020, I'm thinking Lloyd, Doherty, Hooley, Daniel, Sicily, Hearn. And I still think that, Stewart will be a good buy for us at some stage if he can get back. I'm still thinking Zach Williams is going to be a really reliable option when he finds some better form. So they're the sorts of guys, there's sort of 8 names there, and I've probably missed some as well that I do reckon are really good options. So they're sort of the guys that you want to bring in. Try to not get too engrossed in the week to week, the averages of 4 weeks and that sort of thing. I pretty much know which players I want to get in, and hopefully I can do that. Like at the moment, I think Zach Williams will be able to he'll be very gettable soon, so he's on my radar, and there's a couple other blokes on the radar for me that I'll mention in a second. But I think if you can try and snap up Sicily, Daniel, Hearn's going pretty good, or anyone priced above them, then you should be able to do that. Oh, that person was backing out. Gee, they were backing out for a sec there. Driving in car parks and trying to give good SuperCoach advice. I can barely do one at a time, but we'll try and do both. So that's the defenders. That's my thoughts on those guys. But I think replacing Fyfe, it's easier because there's so much money to work with, but nailing that midfield spot is a bit more pressure, because speaking of pressure, this is a tight park. Yeah, we good. Bear with me. Let me put this in park. Fyfe, he's expensive, so we've got options. I think the only guy you can't afford is Neil. But look, Gaff is flying. He's going really, really well. Loves it over in Perth. Averages big numbers over there. And I'm not telling you anything you don't need to or you don't know already, but I wanted to discuss a few players that are maybe about to really respond and hit back, potentially bottomed out. The likes of Paddy Dangerfield, I reckon he's back in town. Marcus Bontempelli, he looked the goods. Break even at 69 for Bont. Dangers is still 108, so yeah, he might go slightly up, he might plateau. And Tom Mitchell, who I'm not as keen on as those other two guys, but still he responded with a 143, hasn't gone under 92 tonnes from 4 outings. He's going pretty good. But I reckon if you're looking for someone to, if you're hoping to open up an extra 100k or something like that, if money's not that desperate for you right now, then just go whoever you like the most. But if you're thinking, gee, I wouldn't mind an extra 100,000 or so, then you can go down to those sort of guys. And if you think someone like Cornelio can respond, and Josh Kelly's dropped a touch too, he was back in business last week. There are a few names that I think are worth considering for sure. And that ruck department is really interesting. For me, what am I doing? What are my trades this week? I've still got Josh Dunkley because I just had to do other things given Jacobs was out. So, and I also have Naismith. And the initial things to go, bring in Pitnett. He's flying. He's only an extra 100,000. For me, I don't see the point. I don't see the point in doing a mini upgrade. I know I've spoken about how trades are less valuable, but I already burnt a couple. I burnt a couple last week. Did a couple of things I probably wouldn't normally do. So I need to be a little bit more savvy. So I'm cutting out the middleman. Stuff your Pitnett. I hope you keep going well, mate, but you're not going anywhere near my side. I'm cutting out the middleman, keeping it simple. I've got Grundy already. Max gone. Get into my side, mate. He's about to go right up, break even about 84. So I'm going Dunkley down to Tom Green. He looked fantastic, particularly late in the game. He's about to go up a fair bit. If he keeps scoring similar, he only has to score 70, 80, the odd 90. And I think he's going to get a fair bit of exposure in that Giants midfield by the looks of it. I just love the look of how he was going about it. So I'm going Dunkley down to Green, Naismith up to Gorn. That's just what I'm doing because I just want to get that ruck sorted. It's been a friggin' nightmare for me so far. English, Jacobs, Naismith. For God's sake, just get those two in, and I guarantee you one of them go down this week because Shorty, I'm putting the moz on blokes weekly at the moment. But for you out there, the Pitnett idea, if you have a few trades up your sleeve, you're sitting somewhere around the early 20s, then yeah, you can probably afford to do that. A little less riskier for someone who's got a few trades because he is going well. Break even at -1. If it goes wrong, you need to get him out in 3 weeks or something. He's still going to have probably gone up to probably 500 potentially. I think he's at 398 at the moment. So the worst thing that can happen is you don't keep him that long and he makes a bit of coin. It's just for me, I'm thinking I don't want that extra stepping stone. I think I just need to go straight to Gorn. And the fact Dunkley was there still and Green sort of just arose out of nowhere, then I think I'm going to have to do that. So it's a roundabout way. I lose a mid premium, I'll gain a ruck premium. But that's about my overall advice for those guys. Try and get reliable premiums and try to not get sucked in by the Maynards, the Ridleys, those types that, yeah, they're running hot. Still try and bank on guys that we just can trust. That'd be my main advice. And in terms of captaincy options, I reckon Cripps is in for a big one tonight. I think, Steele may go to him. He may. But Cripps just hasn't lit the world on fire just yet. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a really good game of footy and Cripps, he leads the way for the Blues tonight. He's probably been overshadowed by a couple other blue baggers, which has been great for Carlton as a whole. But I think Cripps will be back to some of his best stuff. And I just like Grundy as my overall captain option. He could tear the Bombers apart with their sort of lack of ruck strength. So I was thinking, well, I'm most confident with Grundy as my absolute captain option. Who can I take a bit of a risk on tonight? You're probably looking at Doherty and Cripps, and Cripps is the man for me. I know Doherty scored 180 odd last week, but surely they're going to put a bit more attention into him this week and he can't just do as he pleases. But we'll see how we go. Going Cripps into Grundy, and Shorty needs to respond. I've gone absolutely shithouse to start this season. I've checked out. I'm checking back in. I'm checking back in. Stick with me, guys. I'm not jumping off the SuperCoach bandwagon, even though I am a bit of a disgruntled coach at the minute. So all the best for this weekend. Trade well, score well. I'll talk to you later. Cheers.